Richard.
And I'm Gary, and these are our incredible stories.
Tonight, let's celebrate the pets we have loved and who have enriched our lives. I can't think, Gary, of a better topic to start off the month of December, which for us is the month of Christmas.
That's true. That's very true.
And the fellow who comes to mind most often with me, who loved animals, especially cats, was a writer by the name of Cleveland Amory. And in his first book, he told an incredible true story about how a little cat came into his life. And we're going to end our broadcast tonight with a short excerpt from his book. We know from reading Cleveland Amory's book, which was called The Cat Who Came for Christmas, that it was Christmas Eve, and the snow was falling in New York City. Cleveland Amory was walking home from work, and he was bundled up to ward off the bitter cold, and he spotted something in a snow-covered alley close to his home.
What did he spot?
Well, it was a cat, but it was dirty. He couldn't really tell what color it was. It was hungry, it was sick, and, Gary, it appeared injured. Most people would have taken one glance at the cat and moved along. And Amory, of all people, he describes himself as a curmudgeon. This is a grumpy person.
I'm aware of quite a few curmudgeons.
Yes, well, he's the last person in the world who you would expect would take an interest in this poor, desperate cat. Like Cleveland Amory himself said, when it comes to Merry Christmas, he has a hard time uttering the word merry, because merry is not a word in his vocabulary.
How about bah humbug?
Yeah, that's more like it. But anyways, there it was, a desperate little animal struggling to survive on this Christmas Eve. And somehow, Gary, that little animal spoke to Cleveland Amory's heart. He took that little cat home. He nursed him back to health, and he named him P-Bear.
P-Bear?
P-Bear. The initial P, Bear.
What did the P stand for?
I don't know. P-Bear became the subject of 3 of his very successful books, and Cleveland Amory reminds us, all of us, that little animals can truly enrich our lives. And so in the month of December, again for us, the month of Christmas, and for many around the world, they have celebrations just as important to them as we have ourselves. I think it's important to know how and why our lives can be enriched. So let's start off, and let's, from our own experience, learn about a few of the cats who have made a difference in our life. And then we're going to end with, in his own words, Cleveland Amory's short description of what happened on that Christmas Eve so very long ago.
Okay. Well, to start this off, I have to say, in the beginning, our family, and you know what I'm talking about, has always been a dog family. And there's a lot of enrichment that dogs bring to a person's life, a lot of love and devotion. Loyalty of a dog. Everybody knows this. And I had never had a cat. And I remember right around college, I had been looking for a new pet. And I was interested in getting a cat just to have the experience of being a cat owner. And so I remember one of our first cats, her name was Bandit. And Bandit was a unique cat. She had been let out by her owners. I'm not really sure who they were, but she was a snowshoe Siamese, and she ended up on my windowsill, and it was just after November. We're getting into December, which is kind of interesting because most of my cats I got around that time. So this is kind of an appropriate subject that we're talking about right now. But she had climbed on my windowsill outside of my window when I was going to bed, and I saw her out there, and it was a little chilly outside, but I wasn't sure if she was a feral cat or what, but she slept there all night long, and in the morning she was still there, and I said, you know what? You look like you need a warm place to stay. And so I brought her in on the porch, and she was very gentle, and I gave her some food, and it was instantaneous, truly love at first sight. And so I adopted Bandit, made her my own, and brought her into my life, and she was just an absolute joy. She rode on my shoulder everywhere I went. She knew how to open up the doors to the bedrooms and to the bathrooms, which quite frankly can be quite embarrassing when your cat knows how to open up your bathroom door. But she was a fantastic little animal, and I got to have her for a very good 11 years. She was already a mature cat when I got her, so she was probably around 19 or 20 when I lost her. But she really brought a lot to my life. And another one of the cats that I do not have with me anymore was Midnight, who was a black cat that found me and my wife when we were outside sitting on our driveway talking to somebody one day, and she just kind of sauntered on over, very sassy, very sure of herself, and she was actually a street cat that one of the neighbors had been feeding, and this neighbor had ended up having to go to an assisted living home, so Midnight was not getting the food from that house anymore, and she was definitely looking for handouts. And so she wasn't too sure of us in the beginning, but once she began to trust us and she realized we were good people, and so we ended up taking her in, and she had quite the personality, very vocal, loved to tell us what to do and how to do it, but very, very caring little animal. And she was around when we got our third cat, who we have right now, and currently he's king of the house because he's the only cat we have right now, Gizmo. And Gizmo, I think, more than anything, deserves the majority of my time when I tell stories about our pet cats, because Gizmo was an unexpected surprise. And everybody says when you get a cat, you don't find the cat finds you. And it has been true 3 times now. So I had gone to Petco with my wife because it was November, and her class was doing a little thing on... Oh, I take that. It wasn't November because we officially gave his birth date 4/25/15. So that was April 25th, 2015. So we got him in April. And it was April, and we were going over to Petco to pick up some food for tadpoles because my wife's class was doing the life cycle. So 9:30 at night, she realized she needed tadpole food. And so we went over there. They were already closing up shop, and this family comes rushing in. And they have armfuls of kittens, and they're in a panic because they said they were visiting from Maryland, and they were on the beach side when all of a sudden they saw something drop out of this SUV onto the road, and then the SUV took off. And it was 7 little powder puff kittens, and they jumped out of their car, being very kind people, and grabbed up the kittens so that they wouldn't get hurt. And they brought them. They were looking for a vet, but there weren't any vets on the beach side that they could find. They weren't familiar with the area, so they found Petco had a vet inside of the store. So they brought them there, hoping that they would be able to get them in. Of course, it was all closed up, so they made an emergency call at the store to have somebody come in there, but they asked if they could please find somebody or a few people to foster these kittens. And I looked at my wife, and I said, you know, we already have a cat. We have litter. I mean, it's a kitten. We know how to take care of cats. Can we take it? And my wife was going, oh, I don't know. You know, we already have the one cat. I'm not sure. I said, no. Trust me, we could do this. It'll be great. We can definitely do this. And there's this woman who had, at the time, to me, it appeared like she had a look on her face of desperation. And she had this little tiny kitten that was small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. And I just remember her saying, take him. Take him. And once he landed in my wife's arms, oh, the little eyes, the face, the little meow, meow sound, you know. Oh, it melted her heart. And, of course, there was no way of saying no. Fast forward to the next day, I ended up spending $756 instead of the $9 I was paying for tadpole food for a kitten, because the kitten, Gizmo, was so young. He was only, I think they said 5 weeks old, so he wasn't old enough to be weaned off of his mother. So he still needed milk. He needed formula, and so we had to use a little tiny syringe to actually feed him by mouth. But let me tell you, this little booger, incredibly smart. He's a Tonkinese, and I know there may not be a lot of cat professionals out there listening, but Tonkinese are a mixture of a Siamese and a Bombay, I believe. But he is a big boy, but he's incredibly smart. Siamese are genuinely just smart cats. This little animal found out how to get out of every single little carrier or baby fence that we put up in his way. There was no way of containing this small little animal. He's like one of those velociraptors from Jurassic Park. He only needs to be in an environment for a few seconds, and he scans the perimeter. He looks for the weaknesses, and he knows how to escape. He is that smart. And I can't tell you how many times we came home finding our clothing all over the floor, or toilet paper completely unspooled in a giant mound with this little tiny kitten sitting in the middle of it, covered in shredded toilet paper. Oh, it was the most interesting year and a half having a kitten, because I had never raised a kitten before, but it was definitely an experience. But now he's a lot more mature. He doesn't tear things up. Every once in a while, he likes to knock things off. I don't know if it's just to mess with us or what, but or he'll climb up on his little cat perch that's above our bed, and he'll take a toy and he'll drop it on top of us. And that's usually because he wants to play. And so that's the best way to get somebody's attention, is to drop something on your head while you're trying to read a book or watch TV.
I remember that night that you brought Gizmo home. It broke my heart hearing about somebody throwing that carton of kittens out their car window to the ground and just leaving them like that. It just broke my heart.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And to have you bring one of these little helpless little animals home and raise him to the happy little guy that he is today is in itself an incredible story, and a story of love.
Oh, absolutely. I like to think so.
Mm-hmm. My faithful companion for 15 years, up until this past January, was Leo. And he was about 2 or 3 years old when I found him in with an adoption group in a pet store. And I took him home, and every day he greeted me at the front door when I came home from work. I was used to Leo come running and saying, "Welcome back home." He slept near my head in bed every night, and he slept between my feet and legs when I was lounging around during the daytime. He loved his cat treats. I always got a hearty meow from him when he saw me heading for the larder to get a cat treat. And for many years, Gary, as you know, he enjoyed playing with his ostrich feather. I mean, you'd have him circling around that rug at lightning speed with the ostrich feather.
Oh, yes.
Now, in his older years, Leo developed a thyroid problem. He began to lose weight, and he grew thinner and thinner and thinner, and we had to put him on permanent thyroid medication, which extended his life and his quality of life. But he no longer exhibited the energy of a young cat in his older years, and I would frequently tell him that we were growing old together. Then, on his last day, which was January 20th of last year, I came home from Walmart with lots of moist cat treats for him because he hadn't been eating much at all, and I wanted to see if I could fatten him up a little bit. And he was in the kitchen when I walked in, and when he saw me, he walked toward me sideways. And that's when I knew that his time had come. So Leo then made his last trip to the vet, and the vet was surprised that he had lasted as long as he did. It was love and affection between the both of us that kept both of us going.
Absolutely.
So I'm sad that I've lost Leo, but like you, I have some absolutely incredible memories that will be with me for a lifetime, and these memories can only come from the unconditional love that we experience from animals, especially our cats.
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, it doesn't matter if you have a dog, cat, rat, hamster, gerbil, bird. It doesn't matter.
They're all important.
They're all important. And the thing is, all of you listening can understand when I say that a pet becomes a member of the family. And they're not just an animal. They are a family member. And they grow so much in your heart that it's hard when you do lose them. But like you said, we can appreciate the memories and the time that we share with them, the joy and enrichment that they bring to our lives. And they've actually done studies worldwide showing how much a pet can affect your mental and physical health, and how animals can affect the health and the well-being of persons with disabilities, how they're used to help people who are on the spectrum with bringing out their personality and helping them adjust to the world around them. So animals have been put here for a purpose, and they serve that purpose very well. And we're lucky that we get to have them in our lives for the time that we do have them.
I agree 100%. And now, as we listen to an age-old favorite Christmas carol played on guitar the way it was hundreds of years ago in Oberndorf, Austria, we're going to close our holiday trip down memory lane, as we've been remembering our beloved pets, with an excerpt from Cleveland Amory's really delightful book, The Cat Who Came for Christmas. For anyone who has ever been owned by a cat, it will come as no surprise that there are all sorts of things about your cat you'll never, as long as you live, forget. Not the least of these is your first sight of him or her. That my first sight of mine would ever be memorable seemed at the time highly improbable. For one thing, I could hardly see him at all. It was snowing, and he was standing some distance from me in a New York City alley. For another thing, what I did see of him was extremely unprepossessing. He was dirty, and he was hurt. The irony is that everything around him, to accept him, was beautiful. It was Christmas Eve, and although no one outside of New York would believe it, New York City can be beautiful, and that Christmas Eve some years ago was one of those times. It was hardly going to be for me a Merry Christmas. I'm no Scrooge, but I am a curmudgeon, and the word merry is not in the vocabulary of any self-respecting curmudgeon on Christmas or any other day. You'd be better off with a New York cab driver, or even a Yankee fan. I had not a single creature to call my own. For an animal person, an animal-less home is no home at all. Well, it turned out that Cleveland Amory's Christmas cat was Snow White. He nursed his little furry friend back to health, and he named him P-Bear. For Cleveland Amory, P-Bear was the best Christmas present ever. P-Bear appears in 3 of Amory's very successful books, The Cat and the Curmudgeon, The Best Cat Ever, and of course, The Cat Who Came for Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone. Take care of yourselves and any animals who are enriching your lives.
Once again,
I'm Richard.
And I'm Gary. And this was our incredible story.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.